Any Doors fan knows that the garden subfloor is well into development, with the release date becoming closer every day. But as mysterious as this subfloor seems, we already know a decent amount about it. So I'm going to go over everything we know about the Doors garden subfloor to get you up to date. So what even is the garden subfloor in the first place? Well, it's a small miniature floor of doors that has some sort of special twist compared to any of the main floors, and will probably not have too many big boss fights, and will be set in some sort of forest, outdoorsy type environment. But now let's cover every single leak and teaser that I know about so far about the garden subfloor. Starting off with the biggest one, it's an actual teaser and not a leak, and it's the original teaser trailer short video that we got that shows the entrance of the subfloor. Now you can see this giant door with vines covering it, which means you could probably use it for shears. Most of us think that this is the entrance of the subfloor, and I do believe that myself as well. You will probably be able to open it with shears that will probably, or at least they are now, in the courtyard that are just a few doors probably before this. Yes, there's a chance that the shears will be removed from the courtyard before this because it's too easy, but I don't know. You can see a new lamp model that will probably be inside of the subfloor, and a bunch of vegetation and plants that we will most likely see in the floor itself. Now we have another photo from actually inside the garden subfloor. Now, opposed to what you might be thinking, this rabbit is not a new entity. Sadly. It's actually just a little creature that Elsplash said was all over his feed. Now, something that's possible is that this could technically be an Easter egg hidden in the game somewhere. Sort of like how there's dog pictures on top of the courtyard and a cat picture behind the mine's elevator. That's just something I'm pointing out. Now, something that this does clear up is that there's going to be some building and structure, which could mean that we could have some indoor and outdoor rooms, which a mix of both would be pretty cool. And you can see that there's a gray flower down there, and that does mean that we're going to be getting some flowers. Even though they're pretty irrelevant, it is a little detail. That's kind of good. You can also see some sort of doorway up in the right, which means that there's going to be doors inside of these buildings, which is kind of obvious. Next up, we got the 600,000 visits poster, and at first glance, it sort of just looks like a dark background with nothing to it. But if you brighten it up, here's the brightened image, you can actually see a lot of detail. First of all, you can clearly see the sky, which is obviously a sign that it is outside. Up in the front left, you can see a tree, and this is a tree that we probably saw before in the mines in that one room in the cave, but this is not the same room because, well, it's not in the cave. On the opposite side of the picture, you can blurrily see a little stone pillar or obelisk, sort of the kind of thing that we've seen in the courtyard before. And then it looks like there's a stone path that curves around the tree and past the stone pillar into some sort of other section. One thing I want to point out is that the entire image and the path and everything seems to be sloped down, like it's on some sort of hill, which is pretty cool if we're actually getting hills and more terrain, which is going to be a great change, especially compared to the flatness of the hotel. There's also probably some rocks in here and what looks to be a pine tree above the doors text. And let me point out, this was posted at the 6 billion mark of doors, and now we're already at 6.5 billion. That's crazy. Now, I think that's kind of all that we can get out of this picture. It was a lot, and it is a really cool sneak peek into what the floor looks like, but let's move into the next thing about Elsplash's brand, sort of new logo, which hides a bunch of really cool stuff in the corners. So when Elsplash changed his logo, it came with a few extra hidden corner details, which into some of the things that'll be coming in the garden subfloor. Let's brighten it up real quick. This picture is actually really interesting, especially because you might think it's all one picture, but it's either 2 different pictures or 4 different pictures. Starting in the bottom right, we have this really interesting dirt pile with a plant sticking out, and people theorize that it is an entity before, but I'm not really sure about that. It could just be some sort of decoration. Up at the top, we can see another light source that will be inside of this floor is the lantern, which is pretty interesting because this might actually be the main source of light in the floor. And then once again, we can see the stone structures in the background, which just confirms that we're getting some indoor areas or at least some buildings. In the top left corner, we once again see the sky and some more of those stone structures. It looks like some sort of the top of a fence, and we can also sort of see some maybe pine trees in the background that could just be the background for the whole floor. And finally, the bottom left corner sort of looks like a smooth stone statue, and I'm really not sure what it could be. what the statue could be of. It looks not too big compared to the one in the courtyard, but we could get some stone statue decorations in the floor. And also there's a brick in the very bottom of it. There's this message from Redables where someone asked, can we please get a leak? And he just said tree emoji, running emoji, and a tree. Now the first thing is there's 2 different types of trees. We already know there's going to be these 2 types of trees in the floor anyway, and there's someone running through it. Now if this was just a representation of someone walking through trees, because that's what the subfloor is, he just probably would just put the walking emoji. But for some reason, the emoji in here is running, which means running might be a mechanic in the floor, or we can get some sort of chase. Who knows? And then the one and only Cheddar Balls asked, can we get another leak that's undecipherable? And Redables responded with a rock emoji, an anxious emoji, 3 dots, and a scared or nervous emoji. Pretty interesting. Theories that have been floating around is that there could be an entity that disguises as a rock or hides inside of a rock. It could also mean that there's an environmental hazard that has to do with rocks, like falling rocks, or some other sort of trap that has to do with rocks that could possibly make this character feel these emojis, or these emotions. We also have this really old leak, which could mean that there's a Seek chase because it's called Module Seek Moving Garden, which is garden subfloor related. We also know that the garden subfloor will be eventually part of the admin panel. Also, these leaked models that I'm showing on screen, which is from a leaks game, could possibly be in the garden subfloor because of just the theming of it overall. This one entity that looks like some sort of fly trap, it is a plant which could definitely fit in the subfloor itself. The horse that everyone knows at this point could possibly be in the floor because it's an animal, and this sort of garden keeper entity right here could just, I guess, fit the theming of the game in general. Now, these are pretty old leaks and models, but it could be true. One more leaked entity that we have is Wade, and it could also fit the theming of the floor itself as well. For our very final leak, we have this message from Redables, where at the very end he has 2 pretty important emojis. The falling leaf, which we've seen quite a few times before in other teasers, which obviously represents that we're outside. But the axe, however, is a little bit more different and difficult to decipher. Now, what it could mean is that we're getting an axe item that could chop down trees in our path, and maybe even be something we can do during the Seek chase, where we have to cut down the trees and use it as a bridge. That's just an idea I had. Or it could mean one of the entities actually has an axe that it can try to attack us with. Either way, it's a really cool teaser, even though we don't know exactly what it could mean. Now, when can we see this actually come out, or at least even a full trailer? Or maybe even a teaser trailer? At least something, we've been waiting so long for this. So if we look at the time between the Mines teaser trailer and the sneak peek, it's about 2 months, which is pretty interesting. We can use that as an example of what the time will be between this. So at the time when this sneak peek trailer came out was around 2 months ago, which is awesome because that means we're most likely going to get another trailer for the garden subfloor this month. And if we can look at the Mines again, the teaser trailer from the official trailer was 1 month of a difference, so we might get a full trailer next month. We'll see, and we'll see you in the next video. Yes, that's all I have to say. If you enjoyed and want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an impeccable day, and goodbye.